Alright, so in the last video I left it to the point where we have this word stretch written onto a 3D cube, and I said by making it bigger we can actually see that the resolution gets a lot tighter, but we do not want to go outside the 0 to 1 as much as this. We try to avoid doing that whenever possible, based upon rendering capabilities and workflows. So we do not want to go outside that 0 to 1 as much as possible because of mapping. Okay. Now let's look at layout. So if you go to polygons and you go to layout, let's look at why this is important to learn. Okay, I'm just going to hit reset settings, and with the defaults I'm just going to hit apply, and what's going to happen is it's going to lay out the UVs kind of where I had them, and just kind of all I do is I just scosh them over. Okay, but if you didn't know about any of this stuff, let's say you accidentally said, well, scale mode of none. Well, what's going to happen is it's going to scale it, move it over, and then I'm going to have to put it over here. If it was already scaled like this, for example, and I hit apply, look what happens. Well, it doesn't fulfill the whole 0 to 1 UV quadrant. And now if you go to push the UVs over here by hitting 1 on the keyboard, or W on the keyboard, you can see that the UVs aren't quite big enough for the word stretch. Okay, so you can lay out these UVs, and this is what it's called, laying out UVs, to be able to match your texture space. In some places we lay out our textures and then our 3D objects, and in others we lay out our 3D objects first and then texturize them. You can do either or, but we have to know that there's a causal relationship between the UVs and the 3D object. How do we make the word better? Well, in Photoshop, if you remember, I use this magical number of 512 by 512. So let's use 2048 by 2048. The word stretch is a text, so it's not going to like get pixelated. It automatically adapts to the new 2048 by 2048. And I'm just going to save this as, and I'm going to save it as TGA. And replace it with 24-bit pixels. Alright, if I go back to Maya, I can refresh this by going into here, go to the textures, double click on it, and it'll bring up the attribute editor. I can just hit reload here. Okay, nothing much happened there except for if you look at the word stretch now, it looks amazing. Okay, same word. The only thing I increased was the amount of resolution within Photoshop. Just like that. So these numbers right here, we tend to keep them within the power of 2. So 2048, 2048, 4096, 4096, 512 by 512. You'll remember like 16-bit, so 16 by 16 is the power of 2, 32 by 32, and etc. and so forth all the way up. So these power of 2 numbers they translate quite well over to Maya, over to CG, over to game design, over to anything. We always keep textures within the power of 2, but we can also have weird powers of 2. Like let's say it's 512 by 2048. We can do that. The top numbers in the power of 2 and the bottom numbers in the power of 2. You'll sometimes see that occur, and that's tricks to increase texture space in areas. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to show you the causal relation of changing the resolution of the actual Photoshop document and how it applies back to 3D space. And now you can see what that looks like. The other thing that dictates resolution is having the UVs as large as possible. So we don't want to waste a whole bunch of space out here. We want to be able to take up as much space as possible. In other words, if this was small, the shell was small, and I went to go look at this area, it would become pixelated again. Okay, so having very small UVs is bad. We want to try to take up the space, lay it out as big as possible within this 0 to 1 ratio. And by doing that, we have more pixel space. And we'll go into how pixel space and resolution kind of coincide with each other as this unit progresses. Alright, go to the next video.